Hey everyone. Supposedly, there are around 20 million people subscribed to Apple TV Plus as of 2021. Now, if you're anything like me, this may come as a surprise to you because the only thing I've even heard of on this service is that movie from earlier in the year featuring Tom Holland's butthole. But little did I know, Apple TV is home to one of the most overlooked shows of the last year. Granted, it did recently win 7 Emmys with another 13 nominations, but I simply just don't see enough people talking about this show and giving it the respect it deserves. So today, I'm going to tell you why I love Ted Lasso and why you should watch it. Ted Lasso is the story of an American football coach who takes a job in England to coach a soccer team, even though his knowledge on soccer is fairly limited, to say the least. On the surface, Ted Lasso follows the same found family trope you see in a lot of sports movie and TV, but it's developed into so much more than that, especially in the second season. Season 1 was mostly focused on the soccer team as a whole, getting to know each other and working as a team, while Season 2 has dived deeper into each character specifically and highlighted their flaws and the ways they're growing. Personally, I think I prefer Season 2 a bit more because it's less of a sports drama and more of a straight-up character study, which I definitely prefer. This show uses the majority of its runtime to pick apart the inner workings of each character, and then it uses the physical soccer games to demonstrate character growth, or in some instances to set up future growth for new episodes. This might not sound like the most revolutionary structure ever, because that's generally how most sports TV shows and movies work, but the fact that the games aren't as frequent as you'd expect makes them more exciting when they do happen, and also feel so much more important than they would if it just happened every single episode. This show has a wide cast of characters, and each of them is interesting in their own way. You've got the aggressively stoic Roy Kent, the cocky loner Jamie Tart, the vengeful but caring Rebecca Welton, and so many more. Then, of course, you have the titular character himself, Ted Lasso, who has to be one of the best written characters on TV in the last 10 years. He lifts up everyone around him through his unrelenting charisma and just general kind-hearted attitude, even though they sometimes have no idea what he's saying.
I have a branding meeting.
Oh, I always feel so bad for the cows, but you gotta do it, otherwise they get lost.
He has a way of inspiring everyone around him and facing any adversity head on. He's such a goofy, cartoonish looking character, as you can probably tell, but he feels so real at the same time. So far, the most compelling part of the show for me has to be his relationship with the therapist, Dr. Sharon, in Season 2. Ted isn't a flawless character by any means, but for the majority of Season 1, we see him overcome pretty much every obstacle thrown his way. In Season 2, it dives deeper into why Ted acts the way he does, through his initial rejection of therapy, and then with his eventual complete emotional breakdown and opening up to Dr. Sharon. I didn't know this at first, but Season 2 was originally only supposed to be 10 episodes, as was the first season. But when they got approved for Season 2, they got approved for an additional 2 episodes, even though they had already drawn up the storyboards for the ones they were going to do. So this led to the inclusion of the episodes Carol of the Bells and Beard After Hours. From what I've heard online, the Beard After Hours episode, centered solely on Coach Beard, has been controversial because it doesn't contribute to the main story in any way, and it could be considered filler. I understand how it could be seen this way, but I really liked this episode. It felt like a movie inside this series with its own self-contained story, which is just something really special. It had a different visual style and tone than every other episode, and it gave us some insight into a character who has been both figuratively and literally on the sidelines for most of the series. Next, I want to talk about some of the themes and subject matter that this show explores. At its essence, Ted Lasso is a story about relationships and mental health. A recurring idea that is important for multiple characters in the series is the relationship they have with their fathers. For the characters of Jamie and Nate, their fathers are both extremely critical of them, which makes them want to prove themselves, even if it means tearing people down in the process. Then there's also Sam's father, who has similarly high expectations for him, but this has led him to having extremely strong morals which he sticks to at all times, even if it's not most beneficial for him. Then you have Ted, who was left without a father for most of his life, and has caused him to completely shut down emotionally, to instead help others be the best they can, which is really admirable. Ted wants to be the father he never had for his son and for the players on the team. It's also important that both Ted and Rebecca are going through divorce, but dealing with it in very different ways. Seeing Ted's anxiety manifest while dealing with his divorce has been a major focus of season 2, and seeing him in such a vulnerable state has added a lot of depth to the character. Anxiety is something so many people struggle with, and this show does a great job showing how it's viewed by society. We see how supportive some people are of Ted through his journey with anxiety, but we also see the social stigma that comes along with it. All the fans expecting him to be some flawless leader who takes the team to victory, which is a lot of pressure, especially when he has so much else going on in his life. It's been interesting to explore the mental states of each character, whether it be Ted and Rebecca going through dark times in their lives, or whether it be the players unable to perform because of mental barriers, which is something you see a lot in real life, but I'm surprised that you don't see it that often in most sports media, so it's really good to see it here. I'm trying to keep this video fairly brief because I think I could go on about this show all day, but Ted Lasso has just caught me by surprise in the best way possible. I've played soccer my whole life, so I thought this might be of some interest to me, or maybe at the very least it would be funny and pretty entertaining. And while it definitely is all of those things, it's also so much more than that. The way these characters are written feels so genuinely human, and the way this show is able to be so clever while delivering such raw emotion is just something so unique. I can't recommend this show enough. It doesn't matter if you like sports or not, it's just a great show that anyone can enjoy. If I had to give a rating for the first 2 seasons of the show, I'd say season 1 is a solid 8 out of 10, and season 2 I would put a little higher at a 9 out of 10. I plan on doing more videos like this in the future, so I'd love to know any other movies or TV shows you'd like to hear me talk about. I'm pretty much open to anything, so let me know what you want to see. But other than that, thanks for watching, and I'll see you later.
I believe in communism.